Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to look at place-value relationships. So what we're going to be doing is looking at how a number changes or a value changes as we multiply or divide by 10. So we've got a chart here. Let's just jump in and work on this together. Our problem says starting with 6/100ths, multiply or divide by 10 until the chart is filled. So the first thing we're going to look at 6/100ths. I'm going to change that color. Okay, how would we write 6/100ths as a decimal number? Well, we've got a chart here, so let's use it. We know that our denominator here is hundredths, not hundreds, because this is not, 600. It's 6/100ths. So let's find hundredths over here. Here it is. Hundredths, and it's 6. It's not 16 or 26. It's just 6, so we would put our 0 as a placeholder there. So now we have 6/100ths. So we want 6/100ths times 10. We're going to write that over here. And a lot of people will like to put a 0 in front of the decimal, and I think that's a really good practice. Our book does it, textbooks do it. It's a general math practice. It lets you know that nothing is there. So 6/100ths times 10. Now, one way to solve this would be to add 6/100ths 10 times. I'm going to do it 5 times, and then I'm going to double it, because that's the same as multiplying it by 10 times. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Bring down the 1. Okay, and then if we're going to double that, we get 6/10ths. What I did, I added it 5 times, and then I doubled it. If I add something 5 times and then I double it, that's the same as multiplying it by 10. It just saves me writing out 6/100ths 10 times. So we know that this is 6/10ths. And you notice what we did, if we went from 6/100ths to 6/10ths, we moved the decimal point over. Practically speaking, that's what happened. As we multiply by 10, the number gets larger, and we move the decimal point to the right. That might seem a little tricky at first, but look at it. Would you agree that 6/10ths is bigger than 6/100ths? If we were talking money, this would be 60 cents compared to 6 cents. Like 6 dimes instead of 6 pennies. So practically speaking, we can see that it's true. It just takes a little practice to get the hang of it. So now we put our 6/10ths over here. So now we've got 6/10ths. To make the number larger, the decimal point goes to the right. If we make it smaller, the decimal point will go to the left. And since we're multiplying by 10, an easy way to do it is just to count the number of zeros. And there's 1 0 here. We're multiplying it by 10. So we move it 1 place to the right, and we get 6. Now, when we write the number 6, we don't usually write 6.0. We could, and we don't usually write 06. We could. It just doesn't help us at all. It doesn't do anything for us. So now let's bring this number down, and now we have 6 times 10. And 6 times 10, well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Again, and this time I am going to write the 0 here to illustrate how we're moving the decimal point. Our number is getting larger, and we're moving the decimal point over 1 place. Well, now, if you have sharp eyes, and you do have to have sharp eyes with this, you notice that it's changing from multiplication to division. So now we have 60 divided by 10. 60 divided by 10, well, that's how many tens will go into 60. Well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 6 tens. Notice that our number is getting smaller. When we divide by 10, our value becomes smaller, and our decimal point moves the other way. 60 divided by 10, we were here. The decimal point moves here, and it becomes 6.0. So now we have 6 divided by 10. 6 divided by 10. Oh, look, we're back to 6 tenths. Again, I like to put my 0 in front there. And look at what we're doing. 6 divided by 10. The decimal point's here. We move it this way. Our number becomes smaller, and we have 0.6. Now, 0.6 isn't the mathematical way to say it. 0.6 is 6 tenths. And if we have 6 tenths divided by 10, then that becomes 6 hundredths. This time we're going to start with the number, and I'm just going to read it exactly as it is written, starting with 3.8, multiply or divide by 10 or 100 until the chart is filled. 3.8, that is how the problem will be read to you if you have like voice to text on a test, but that's not the mathematical way to say it. The mathematical way to say it would be 3 and 8 tenths. Another way to write it would be 3 and 8 tenths. Well, let's look at where the decimal point is. It's right here. We've got a 3 in front of it and an 8 behind it. Well, our pattern of moving the decimal points stays the same. Oh, I got to pay attention there. This time it's dividing. Anytime I'm dividing something, I know my quantity is getting smaller, and that will give me a hint on which way to move the decimal point. If my number's getting smaller, it's going to go this way, and it becomes 0.38 or 38 hundredths. Now notice again, they changed it up a little bit. We're starting with 3.8 again. We're not starting with 38 hundredths. Okay, so notice that we have 3.8, which is 3 and 8 tenths, and we're dividing by 100 this time. So think about it this way. I'm going to write my number again, and because I want to give myself a little bit of time to think about this, I'm just going to put a 0 in front and a 0 behind. Does it change the value of the number? No, it doesn't. So 3.8 divided by 100. Notice that I've got 2 zeros here. So that means I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places. How do I know which way to move it? Well, I'm dividing. My number's getting smaller. The only way my number's getting smaller is to move it 2 places to the left. If I moved it 2 places to the right, my number, instead of being 3 and 8 tenths, becomes 380. So our new number is, I'm going to put a 0 in front of the decimal, and then I've got 0, 3, 8. I would read this as 38 thousandths. Okay, our next one changes to multiplication, and so we've got 3.8 times 10. So I've got 3.8, my decimal point, our number gets bigger. I now have 38. I can put a 0 there. I don't have to. Okay, so our number is 38. Actually, I gotta pay attention. My number doesn't start with 38 here. It's 3.8 again. So 3.8 times 100. How many zeros? 2 zeros. So 3.8. Move it 2 places. Oh, I better put a 0 there as a placeholder. 1, 2. My new number is 380. And there you have it. I hope this was helpful.